What's going on, boys? Quinn69 here. How you guys doing today? So as you can see, today I'm going to be bringing you guys a updated guide for the new kind of 2.4 monk meta. So if you don't know, static charge was nerfed into the ground, right? Okay, it was nerfed to the point that it was basically not even usable. This build was stronger than it, and then they just nerfed it again for no reason. So it's been nerfed a second time. Two times, boys. Rip static charge. It is now a useless skill. You don't even want to put it on your bars. It's not even useful for like niche situations. I don't really understand why Blizzard decided to nerf it a second time, because I mean there was other builds out there that were stronger than it, and now it's just completely rip. So anyway, let's get into it. So this is a Inners 6-piece set. So we get like the 10 Mystic Allies. You know, we get the 5, plus the Crutus Boots. We get 10 Mystic Allies. So we get a bunch of pets, a bunch of buffs. And then we have Raiment 2-piece, so it increases the attack speed of our generators, and it increases the damage of our generators. And then we're using like Shenlong's Fists for maximum spirit generated damage, and it does just crazy damage with your spirit generators. That's the TLDR. You might notice it looks quite similar to one of the OG, like original gangster builds we had back in the day, called, I just labeled it the Spirit Generator Monk, and it pretty much is. I pretty much just got that build, adapted it with the new gear, and, you know, we're just testing this out, because everyone was running the old nerf static charge, and I was like, why the hell don't you just use a, you know, an actual generator that does damage? Next minute, we got rank 1 with this build, like, straight away. So let's do it, boys! Let's go over how we're kind of playing it. So the way the build works, as I said, it's just purely generator damage using a bunch of supporting skills. So on my number 1 key, we have Mystic Allies. So that's just you press it, it heals you to full. It also stuns everyone. It also makes your little allies do a tiny bit of damage. It's very tiny, because we're not using the Binding of the Lost. It's like the special bracelet that makes your Mystic Allies do tons of damage. We're not using that. So yeah, you just press it for like a heal. Obviously, I wouldn't be using this ability, so when this goes live, hopefully, I mean, I'm 95% sure they're going to fix it, but right now, you have to have Mystic Ally on your bars on the PCR, otherwise, you just don't get the extra 5 allies. It's just a bug, so you're just forced to have that. Obviously, I'd prefer that to be Cyclone Strike if I could, but right now, you have to use it if you want to get the 250% damage bonus, because you get 50% damage per Mystic Ally you have. I mean, OP, right? On our number 2 key, we're using Breath of Heaven infused with the light. So that gives us a bunch of spirit on each spirit generated attack. That means we can battle the Shenlong's debuff. So Shenlong's Fist constantly drain your spirit. It's infused with the light is what keeps our spirit full. We've got enough cooldown reduction to keep that going the whole time. So it's really good. Then I'm using Dashing Strike Radiance. This is the rune on Dashing Strike that gives your generators an extra 15% attack speed. This basically, what this does, it actually gets you to the next breakpoint. So all your generators have a bunch of different breakpoints. I'm going to be going over a few generators when we get to the gear and talk about the pros and the cons of these generators. They all have different breakpoints, and you're going to really have to look into it if you want to kind of min-max that. But obviously for my final guide for when this build is actually live, I will be going exactly over how much attack speed you need to get the, you know, the maximum amount of damage out of that juice. For our number 4 key, we're using what's that thing called? Epiphany Desert Shroud. This gives you 50% damage reduction. Also gives you some spirit regen. The spirit regen is basically disabled the whole time though, because you've got Shenlong's buff up, which, you know, reduces all of your passive spirit regen to nothing. So yeah, you're just using it for the 50% damage reduction. Our left click is our generator. This could be one of a few generators that we're going to go over in the future. And on our right click, we're using Inner Sanctuary Forbidden Palace. This is for 50% damage reduction, and, well, 55% damage reduction, should I say, and also makes you do like an extra 30% damage to the monsters. Additive damage, may I add, it's not that great. It's more about the damage reduction, which is why we use it, and with the gameplay of the build. Now, if you notice here, so you can see here, as far as my little buffs go, you'll see this thing here. This is like the endless walk buffs and stuff. These 2 little buffs that kind of flicker in and out. Okay, what these are is, it's the Compass Rose set. It's like a ring and a necklace, and the way it works is, when you move, right, so when you're running along the place, you'll consistently gain this buff. This buff will keep going up, and up, and up, and up, to the point where it hits 50% damage reduction. Okay, when you're at 50% damage reduction, your damage bonus is at +0, so you're getting no damage bonus. But as you stand still, your damage bonus then goes up and 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 up to the point that you'll be at 100 damage bonus and you'll be at 0% damage reduction. So if you're at the middle part, you'll be at 50% bonus damage, 25% reduction. So depending on how much you're moving and how much you're standing still, you know, you'll get different buffs. It's quite dynamic and it's pretty cool. And obviously for this build here, because we're using Forbidden Palace and the gameplay kind of dictates that you stand still a lot, you'll notice that I pretty much have 100 damage. Okay, right now I don't. I'm just bad at this game. Okay, there we go, 100 damage bonus almost all the time. Because I'm intentionally standing still as much as possible, because I mean I'm dropping an inner sanctuary, which I've got to stand inside anyway, and then with generators, you do the max damage while you're standing still. Obviously if you're stutter stepping, you're losing animation time, so you're losing damage output. So the more you stand still, the more damage you deal, basically. It's really cool. But that pretty much is the basic gameplay. Kind of stand there, slash guys down with your generator, pop all your cooldowns. You know, dash. You have to constantly use dash. You notice I'm just dashing on the spot because that means I get the extra 15% attack speed. It means I do more damage. I get to that break point. It's really good. If you guys want, you can watch the rest of this clear at the end of the video. But I'm going to go over the gear and I'm going to go over the passives and all that good stuff right now. All right, calm down, boys. Calm down. So obviously everyone's looking at my gigantic wings right now and is asking, what the hell are they and how do I get them? I've never shown these on YouTube yet and I'm pretty excited to show you guys. So these things here are the Wings of Mastery. So to get these, you have to complete every single set dungeon on Master Mode. So that means you have to complete all the objectives and do it within the time limit on every single set that exists in the game. Currently, I have not seen a single other person with these wings, and they are insanely hard to get. The set dungeon challenges are very hard, well at least a few of them are, and it makes it quite fun to try and, you know, smash your face into it until you figure out a strategy to complete it. I am releasing guides for all of these, and hopefully Blizzard don't nerf all the dungeons. I have like a niggling suspicion that I think that Blizzard are going to be like, well, obviously no one's getting these wings, so obviously it's too hard, and they might just nerf the crap out of it, but I think that'll be a horrible thing for the game. I think they need to make these wings as hard as possible to get. That way not everyone's got them, and it's kind of like this kind of EP or like this kind of cool thing that you can have that your friend doesn't have that you can brag about, and you know, then he'll work towards it and he'll get it, and you kind of feel proud to put them on. Obviously they are green, you cannot change the color, but yeah, this is the Wings of Mastery. And I am releasing, obviously, every single guide for all the Master Dungeons, so if you guys want, you guys can definitely check that out. I should have them all up before the patch goes live. So, as far as skills and stuff go, we've got Alacrity. So this thing here is increasing your attack speed of your spirit generators by 15%. This is a multiplicative effect, so that goes beyond the 5 APS cap. So if you guys don't know, attacks per second here, this is capped at 5. And you hit that cap quite easily, you know, using one-handers and a flying dragon. So this goes beyond that, you don't need to worry. Seize the Initiative. This gives you 30% item attack speed for 4 seconds whenever you attack an enemy above 75% life. This is up the majority of the Rift, and the only time it's really down is on, you know, Rift Guardians, which do not have ads, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. Rift Guardians are a cheese for this build. I killed the 83 boss in sub 60 seconds, so you guys can watch that in the video. Harmony, obviously that means 40% of your single elemental resistances go to your ore resist. So for example, on my chest here it says 184 fire resistance, so that means 40% of that value then goes to all of the other resistances apart from fire res. So obviously you still get the fire res, you just get all that other ore res. So if you're looking at ore res right now, it is crazy high. So Beacon Eater reduces all cooldowns by 20%. Currently I'm running a high CDR setup, and I wouldn't suggest trying to drop this. There will be builds in the future which do drop CDR. It's going to be viable, but currently I like running the CDR setup, and I advise you to as well. As far as the cube goes, obviously we have Flying Dragon in the cube. So this was fixed in patch 2.4 PTR. So what it does now for one-handers is it actually properly doubles your attack speed, whereas before on 2.3, so on live servers, it didn't properly double your attack speed, so it's been buffed slightly. We're using Crudest Boots. Obviously that means we go from 5 Mystic Allies to 10 Mystic Allies, so you can see all my Mystic Allies there. If you guys don't know why I've got 10 Mystic Allies, we'll be going over the inner set in like 2 seconds, and it'll go over that. We are obviously using Ring of Royal Grandeur here. There's no other options as far as rings go. If you want to run this setup, you have to use Ring of Royal Grandeur. It is the only way to actually get both of these sets completed, unfortunately. But yeah, this is the enabler, which this is what makes the build really overpowered. Thank God for Ring of Royal Grandeur, boys. As far as the items go, we're obviously using Shenlong's Fist set. So you can see these 2 fists here. So every point of spirit you have multiplies your damage output of your spirit generators by 1.5. 1.5 multiplied by 343. Really, really powerful. And on top of that, whenever you reach full spirit, it constantly drains your spirit, and you get another 100% multiplier. So it just increases all of your damage output by a crazy amount. Insane. You want to be rolling cooldown reduction on your fists for this setup, and at least life on hit on one of your fists. I mean, it's technically not necessary to actually have life on hit on both fists, as you do have Simplicity Strength, and that does give you a lot of life on hit. But I mean, for you guys, I would suggest keep having at least life on hit on one of your fists, and CDR on both. Then we're using Raiment 2-piece here. So Raiment set, your Spirit Generators have 25% increased attack speed and 300% increased damage. They are both multipliers, so that multiplies beyond the 5 APS cap, and then that 300% is also a multiplier. Very, very strong. Then we're obviously using the inner set. This is the rework set. I'll quickly go over it for those of you guys who don't know what the changes were. So increases the passive effect of your Mystic Ally and the base effect of your Mantra by 100%. So what that means is, so your Fire Ally used to give you 10% damage and now gives you 20% damage. You know, your Mantra, so your Mantra of Salvation used to give you 20% all res, and now gives you 40% all res. That's what it does, boys. And obviously, you know, so your Mystic Allies they get doubled, and then you have Crudus Boots in the cube, so it gets doubled again. So your Fire Allies, effectively, because you got 2 of them, means you get 40% bonus damage from having two Fire Allies, and the effect is doubled. And then the 4 set gives you all the runes, like I just showed you before, of the mantras. And then 6 set, gain 5 runed Mystic Allies and have your damage increased by 50% per Mystic Ally. So we have 10 Mystic Allies, so we get a total of 500% increased damage, and we get all of those Mystic Ally runes. So we get the damage from the Fire Allies, we get 2 Slowing Allies, we get 2 Air Allies, you know, we get 2 Enduring Allies and 2 Earth Allies. Really, really powerful for damage and defense. It's an all-around really strong set. Please don't nerf it, Blizzard. I pray to God it doesn't get nerfed, because this is a pretty cool set. It enables you to play a bunch of different builds, and we'll be going over some other inners builds. Right now, this is just showing you guys the 2.4 meta. What is the strongest build right now for monks? Obviously, on your pants, on your belt, this is Spirit Generator damage rolls. So you're going to roll Crippling Wave if you're using Crippling Wave, Way of the 100 Fists if you're using Way of the 100 Fists. And the rest of your rolls are just the standard, you know, crit cooldown, then, you know, crit dex vit, etc., etc. Just the full inner set. Obviously, Raiment Shoulders there. We have Unity on, so you have a Unity on your character and a Unity on your follower. So that means you damage the share between you and your follower. Then you put the follower cannot die relic. That gives you a net result of, you know, 50% damage reduction, because 50% of it goes to your follower, but your follower is immune to damage. So yeah, you get 50% damage reduction. OPOP. We are using Compass Rose. So this is what I was talking about before with the you know, the damage buffs. So Compass Rose set, that's the ring and the necklace. So obviously when you're standing still, you get 100% increased damage. When you're moving, you get 50% damage reduction. So that is there for, you're going to be using this for the damage bonus, obviously. Damage reduction is nice, and you can kind of min-max it when you want to, but really it's there for the damage increase. Obviously you don't want a ring rolled like this. You want your ring to be looking like 6 crit, 50 crit damage, dexterity, and cooldown, instead of cooldown attack speed. It depends what setup you're running. You know, necklace, the standard crit, obviously fire damage or crit, cold damage or crit holy, depending on what you're running. This is not the ideal setup, but this is still the necklace you want, the Traveler's Pledge. It goes with the Compass Rose ring. But that is the gear as far as I'm concerned, yeah. And then the legendary gems we're using, Bane of the Stricken, so this means you decimate Rift Guardians. Obviously we have insane attack speed, so this stacks up really fast because the internal cooldown of the gem is reduced. And, you know, Rift Guardians snap in like sub 60 seconds if you have your character optimized correctly. It is really awesome for doing that. You can swap this out for things like Go-Go Swiftness or Pain Enhancer. It is viable, depending on what attack speed breakpoint you're going for. We're not going to go over breakpoints today, as this is just a vague guide for you guys. We're using Bane of the Trapped. This is a 42% multiplier to anything that's slowed. The secondary effect procs the primary, and on top of that, because you're using the water ally, all your attacks slow anyway, so everything is slowed. So you're just getting 42% multiplicative, damage, depending on what the rank of your trapped is. Obviously, might be a little bit less for some of you guys. Then final gem is Simplicity Strength. Increases the primary damage of your skills by 68.50%. This is additive damage, but if you guys remember with the old school generator builds, we used to always use depth diggers. But as you can see, there's no possible way to fit depth diggers in, because Cruder's Boots are effectively worth 250% multiplier, for your damage, and on top of that, they give you a bunch of buffs, and depth diggers are just 100% additive damage, where are they? Depth diggers. So you can't actually use these. That actually increases the value of this gem here, because you get less effective diminishing returns from the damage buff. And on top of that, because you're using Intercept, you have a lot of life, so you actually get a lot of life on hit. You might even want to optimize around vitality setups, and you could get an insane amount of life on hit. I still haven't played around with that too much. This is still quite early on the PTR, and we've got some, more testing to do in that regards. And then we've got Spirit Guards on. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm just going over these again. Spirit Guards are on because we're using Spirit Generators all the time. This just gives us 40% multiplicative damage reduction. Really, really, really powerful. As far as our skills go, we've already been over them. So the skills I'm using, Crippling Wave, Mangle. So you can obviously run other setups. Crippling Wave, Mangle, this is the most consistent rune that I found as far as damage output goes. Other setups which are notably very powerful and might end up being the top. This is probably the second strongest setup I've been over. This is Fists of Fury. Just the way the dot interaction works. Depending on your attack speed, you can stack this dot a certain amount. And then as long as you keep refreshing it, it just keeps that stack forever. And you can effectively have a lot of wind up and then start melting a monster if you're attacking it for a long period of time by stacking it with a ton of dots. If you get crazy density, this does still lag out the game. It's definitely less laggy than it used to be, but it still can crash the game, boys, especially at a high APS setup, whereas Mangle does not have that issue. And on top of that, there's another rune worth noting. This is kind of funky. This one here, Wind Force Flurry. This one has got the highest single target and the highest, it's like hyper directional damage. So you can see here, these little blasts here, they go for 500% each. As far as that single target rotation is concerned, this rune is the rune to go to for you kill Rift Guardians like that. It's just ridiculous. And on top of that, if you can actually position the mobs in a certain way, you might even be able to kill monsters even faster with this rune than maybe Mangle or maybe even Fist of Fury. It's a pretty fun rune to play around with. I didn't do too much testing, just a couple rifts. It's definitely viable, like 80 plus easy. All the generators are quite powerful. And another one worth noting, which we were trying out, which was pretty fun, was Scattered Blows. So Deadly Reach Scattered Blows, you just attack, and it just does huge AoE damage. This, on a really dense map, might be the most powerful as well. It's really hard to say which is going to take the top, because all the generators are pretty well balanced, and Blizzard have obviously got the numbers pretty well even, depending on what they do, depending on what buffs they give you. But generically, I found Mangle to be the most consistent, so that's what I'm going to advise you to go with. As far as your other skills go, in Sanctuary Forbidden Palace, Mystic Ally, Fire Ally, Breath of Heaven, Infused Delight, Dashing Strike, Radiance, and Epiphany, Desert Shroud. As far as Paragons go, obviously you just want to, cap out your movement speed. So I've got 12 on my boots. I can put 13 in Paragons for a total of 25. That's the max movement speed you can get passively. Then on top of that, you want to be going maximum spirit always, because maximum spirit, obviously, the more maximum spirit you have, the more damage your spirit generators do because of your Shenlongs. Then the rest into dexterity. As far as stat priorities are concerned, pretty much attack speed, then crit, and then cooldown reduction as far as that goes. Defensive talents, Aura Resist, Armor, Life Percent, Life Regen. Utility, area damage has been fixed. Touch wood. So area damage is now the strongest stat in the game as far as utility is concerned. And on top of that, depending on, I'm touching wood, and I'm hoping it's been 100% fixed. I'm not going to be advising you guys to put it on your gear yet because I have to test it more. But it's potentially going to be one of the best stats in the game to have on your shoulders and maybe even your gloves now. And maybe even on your weapons. So we might be rolling area damage on weapons and stuff and going, you know, some really funky stuff. So yeah, utility, area damage, life on hit, RCR, go fun. But otherwise, that is the kind of overview of this build here. Currently, if it doesn't get nerfed, fingers crossed, this will probably be the strongest build for monks, depending on what, you know, changes we see. This is not in cement or anything, because currently Samwuko set is complete trash, and the Raiment 6-piece is complete trash. They might end up doing some buffs to those set. You know, they might buff them, or they might end up just crushing this set here. Juliana's is actually competitive with the setup. Juliana's is clearing in the low 80s right now, so it could potentially even compete for the top spot. We'll be going over those sets in some other videos, though. If you want to, you can stick around and watch the rest of the clear, but that's it from me, guys. Until next time, peace the hell out, and have a good day.
Jack it up.